Good morning, everybody. I wanted to come on today to talk a little bit about another mistake that foreign leaders, China managers make going into the Chinese market. And that is either having too much involvement in the detail or having too little involvement in the detail. And I've seen both spectrums. And ultimately, what I want people to understand from today's video is that there needs to be a balance in terms of the involvement in the China business. Our goal is to make sure that as leaders, we are spending more time working on the business versus actually in the business. So perhaps the balance is that we need to spend a little bit more time in the foundation phase of building up the structure, getting corporate governance put in, getting into the details of managing the employees, getting to the habit of developing communication tools and communication schedules, but then slowly delegating and getting out of the inside of the business so that the focus can be put on the strategy, on the decision making, on the growing, on the scaling up of the business. What I see is two spectrums. People who tend to be very much in the nitty-picky of the details and then not really looking back and saying, actually, we've got to focus now on the business and growing up the business. And those that, well, they just delegate everything and they don't pay attention to the business at all. They don't ask questions. They don't develop communicative tools to understand and receive the transparency and clarity they need to know what is happening in the business, etc. So what I want people to understand when going into the Chinese market is that you do need to spend a lot of detail at the beginning. You do need to get into the grind of understanding how you're going to build up that foundation, creating habits within the entity, creating structure and corporate governance within the entity so that you have a solid foundation that you can build off on. But at some point, you need to step back and say, hey, I've got to now focus on strategy. I've got to focus on the fact that we're moving in the right direction. I've got to focus on perhaps clients or areas that are lacking a little bit, right? So knowing where month to month things are lacking and being able to then focus on those things versus really going into the nitty-gritty of every single department, every single employee's business. At some point, you don't want to suffocate your team. You don't want to suffocate your clients. You don't want to suffocate the third parties to whom you're delegating work to, all right? And I think suffocation is the right terminology. You want to be able to stand back, look at the bigger picture and know, are these the right partners we're working with? And continuously make these analyses to make sure you're going in the right direction. Now, I also have a lot of leaders who say, I'm going to just delegate everything and not get involved in the business at all. Now, this is also a wrong thing to do, right? You need to get involved in the business. You are either the business owner or the China leader or the APAC manager. You should have an interest in scaling up your business in China. Otherwise, what was the point of going in to begin with, right? Just because you've hired people on the ground to take over stuff does not mean that you should not be interested in what they're doing, what they're achieving. Are they hitting their goals? Are they hitting their KPIs? If they are, fantastic. Does that mean we've under budgeted? If they're not hitting their goals, have we over budgeted? And do we need to reforecast? Discussions and communication has to happen. So just saying that I'm going to sit back overseas and not pay attention at all is also the wrong methodology to have. So the biggest takeaway I want people to have from today's video is a balance, understanding where you need to put in a lot more effort and a lot more emphasis in the business, and realize at what point you have to take a step back and say, I'm going to work on the business, I'm going to work on the strategy, I'm going to work on growing, I'm going to be the decision maker, and I'm going to now scale up. It's a balancing act. That's not always so easy to do because a lot of the times people realize that the business that they're creating in China is their baby. You're building it up from the ground up, right? You're nurturing it and you're going to mature it. And sometimes you just want to get into all of the details and into the nitty-gritty. At some point, you're going to have to step back. You won't have enough time on your hands to be involved all the time in every aspect. So if you need help in this balancing act, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to help and have a conversation with you. Have a great afternoon. Take care and goodbye.